Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and Ali Morano. A little later on in the show, we'll be looking ahead to Juventus against Atletico Madrid tomorrow. But we start in the Spanish capital. Santi Solari sacked as Real Madrid coach today. Zinedine Zidane is back in charge of the club, signing a contract until 2022. Let's go out to Sid Lowe, who's outside the Bernabeu, who's at the press conference where Zidane was presented. Sid, how did this happen? We thought it was going to be Mourinho, didn't we?
Well, Real Madrid had two options, both of which were turning back. One was Mourinho, one was Zidane. Very, very different, of course, in terms of their approaches, very different in terms of their personalities. And I think what happened over the last 3 or 4 days is that Madrid were in a position where they had to try and persuade Zidane to come back. And I must admit, I'm genuinely surprised that Zidane gave in. Now, he today in this press conference has talked about how nothing really needed to be said to him, no promises needed to be made, no guarantees needed to be offered. He just needed to get the call. Now, if that's true, why was the call made last Thursday and it's only happened today on Monday?
Sid, obviously we're speculating, but you imagine promises mean you're going to get new players, we're going to get rid of the players that you don't want. Promises, of course, that Florentino Perez couldn't give this time last year, hence Zidane walked.
Yeah, exactly. Either couldn't give or wouldn't give. And I think while Zidane has insisted that, you know, I haven't been told these things, I haven't been told things about cleaning out the squad and so on, I don't think anyone truly believes him on that. And he talked tonight about just getting on with the next 11 games, thinking about what they do in the summer, and that changes will then be made, which of course tells you that there are some changes in mind. Also, he's got 11 games to try and make a final decision on that. But I think you're absolutely right. I think what's happened over the last 4 or 5 days is that they've discussed the kind of things he would like to do and the kind of things that he probably wanted to do, as you rightly say, in the summer. And at that stage, that guarantee wasn't given. Now, given Real Madrid's crisis, it has been.
Finally, Sid, before you go for your boy band rehearsal, let's talk about the fact, how has it been received in Madrid? How do the fans like this?
Absolutely delighted. In terms of a kind of ending a crisis move, this has been a masterstroke. And remember, we talked about this last week, and I was saying that what I couldn't really get my head around, what I couldn't really understand, is what need there would be to bring in a manager now who might get burnt by these final 11 games. I have to say, in terms of my interpretation there, I was clearly very wrong. And obviously what's happened is that since the knockout in the Champions League, we saw this in the 2 or 3 days that followed, the crisis risk getting deeper. And by putting Zidane in, you calm that down immediately. So these 11 games might mean nothing, but they do mean that you can calm things down, you can get someone in who everybody is behind. I mean, Zidane tried to claim that 1 or 2 people were annoyed with him for walking out. That doesn't feel true at all. Right now, the whole of the city is delighted.
Sid Lowe, thank you very much for your thoughts. Just a reminder, Zinedine Zidane had a phenomenal record with the club. Of course, in the Champions League, was so successful. He's back for a second stint, gentlemen. Is this the right choice?
Well, absolutely. And, you know, as Sid was just saying there, you know, for Florentino Perez, for the time being, it gets a lot of people off his back. Now, I can't remember what the rhetoric was from Zidane left. I think he said he wanted to take a break.
Yes,
of that.
yeah.
But I think, let's be honest, he could probably smell and see
right.
what was around the corner.
The Titanic was sinking, pretty much.
Well, he probably had a look at it and thought, well, you know, we need this, we need that, we need to do this, and if I'm not going to get it, maybe it's better I step aside. And if he's really clever, and I don't know if this is the case, he maybe could have foreseen that it was going to be a struggle, and that down the line he might have had an opportunity to come back in and let somebody else just take the pressure, be it Solari or Lopetegui. And he comes back in now with a big job on his hands, but, you know, without any real pressure between now and the end of the season, because he'll just say, listen, I need to rebuild this in the summer.
Yeah.
Genius moves from both parties.
Really?
From Florentino Perez and Real Madrid, it looks as if, and this may be surprising to some Real Madrid fans, that there may be a plan in place. Yeah. That indeed you're making a decision based not only on what happens next weekend, but what happens in the long term with Real Madrid. It feels as if you're bringing Zidane back is because now you've assured him that we're going to make this transition and we're going to make the changes that need to be made that we couldn't make last summer. For Zidane, he goes, takes his break, gets his mind off the game, and he just watches from the outside and sees this team fall apart, which he probably could have foretold before he walked off, and then comes back and he's a hero. And no matter what happens from here till the end of the season, he's still a hero. And oh, mind you, then comes the changes. And that's really where things need to happen for Real Madrid. That the decisions that they make in terms of personnel make sense to Zinedine Zidane. Those are the things that he wants, and that he gets the players that he wants. And the players that are not going to be helpful and useful, get out. The players that we need, bring them in. The other ones that we don't want, gone. All of that needs to happen, and Zidane seems to be the calmest person to make this happen. This man was outstanding today in the press conference. Everything was a smile.
He didn't even dress up for the press conference.
No, look at the pants. Are you kidding me? So he just looked so calm, and everything was so welcoming, and everything. Nothing to see. I love this club. This is fantastic. It's great from everybody.
Well, I mean, apart from Gareth Bale, it seemed pretty much he got on, had a good relationship with almost everybody.
Yes.
Hence one of the reasons he was able to be so successful. I mean, it's well documented him and Bale didn't particularly get on, and Bale spent a lot of time on the bench. However, that kind of cosy relationship now that brought him success is going to have to be broken up.
Yep.
Because as Ali said, he's now going to have to take a real hard-nosed look at him and him need to go. I know they were successful for me, but that was then, and this is now. So he's going to make he came in before and he was fighting some fires, and it was about getting the players smiling again and getting the happy team ethic and being happy in the training ground and going out for meals and the team that sort of drinks together wins together. But that's not the squad he's taken over now. No. He's now taken over an embattled squad of players. I've had Ramos out. I don't know what Ramos was doing today. Social media, press. He was like holding court.
Yep.
So he's got a lot to sort out between now and the summer transfer window.
Let's welcome Ian Darke into the show. Ian, what do you make of this appointment?
Well, I think it's home is the hero, isn't it? This is the guy who could do no wrong when he was in charge before, and I suppose it's a happy outcome for Real Madrid, but there are some big issues. Like Sid and the rest of the guys, I can't believe that he hasn't been given plenty of assurances about what will happen in the summer in terms of buying players, maybe Eden Hazard. What is he going to do about Bale? What is he going to do about Isco? What is he going to do about Marcelo? There's a lot to sort out at Real Madrid because it has been a horrendous season by their standards.
Isn't this a bit of a slap in the face for Mourinho, who we've seen over the last couple of weeks pretty much openly courting Real Madrid and saying, I had a great time there, I'd love to go back, and they've chosen Zinedine Zidane, whose CV, I know, at Real Madrid is great, but Jose Mourinho surely is a maturer coach, a more successful one.
He is, but he's also one that's carried a lot of baggage and been very problematic, even at that club. And so for Mourinho, he'll just say, well, I'll wait on PSG. Right. I always wanted to go and manage in France. And there's a fair chance that one will come. A fair chance that one will come around. The other one is Pochettino. I don't know if he came into the thinking in this process for Real Madrid, but he's now sitting looking at Solskjaer doing well at Man United. We discussed that. Yep. And Zidane on a contract till 2022.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things been affected here, including Mourinho, but I'm sure he'll do all right with his payoff. Just sitting tight for a bit.
Of course, he's still living off his Manchester United payoff.
And the others, and the Chelsea, and the others.
Short term, as everyone seems to agree, this is great for Real Madrid from both sides. But big picture, Zinedine Zidane set the bar so high when he was there. Surely the only kind of way is down, isn't it?
Well, no, because of where the team is now. You look at a team that is on life support, and the standard of Real Madrid is much higher than everybody else's. And so, therefore, where the team is now, as currently constituted, Zidane walks in and makes this team successful next year is... Again, it's a perfect scenario for Zinedine Zidane because the bar is incredibly low. I mean, we're talking about a team that has nothing to play for from here on to the end of the season. And so that's not the standard for Real Madrid. So he's walking in, and because there is pressure to perform and put together a team, he can then say, in order for us to be the team that we were, we need to make these changes. And who wouldn't listen when you are where you are if you're Real Madrid?
Well, my memory's not great. Was it 3 Champions Leagues?
3 Champions Leagues.
Right, but they didn't win La Liga.
No.
Right. Now, there's the carrot.
Yes.
And, we know how important Champions League is, but whenever and it was about a year ago, we spoke to our colleague, Steve McManaman, former Real Madrid player, and said, what would you prefer to win?
Yeah.
As somebody that played for Real Madrid, and Champions League or La Liga? And he said La Liga.
Yeah.
So I suppose...
Which Zidane was saying as well during his tenure, because obviously they've been successful in the Champions League, but Barca have dominated.
So that's the big thing to start winning that. I mean, it's a win-win in terms of a PR exercise, but in terms of what he's got to do on the field and what he has to do in the transfer window is huge.
We haven't heard from Santi yet, by the way, if he's going to come back on the show now.
Well, he's going to have time.
From Real Madrid to extra time.
He's going to have time now.
The steak? That's it. Just a reminder of where Real Madrid are in La Liga table. You could argue the one thing they're fighting for is for a top 4 space, but they should be fine. 10 points clear of Alaves in 5th. So it's Juventus against Atletico Madrid tomorrow in Turin. Remember, Atleti go there with a 2-0 lead. Massive favourites to advance 4-1 on. Juve come in at 3-1. Allegri's normally pretty good with the press, but some strange quotes from the Juve coach looking ahead to this game. I think expectations have been raised far too much and it's become an obsession. Playing in the Champions League ought to be a pleasure and a joy. In my view, it's wrong to see it negatively because I think we've done a great job here. It's true, every story has to come to an end, but we're heading for an 8th consecutive Scudetto and we won the Italian Super Cup. What's he doing? Why is he saying that? Like the Champions League some sort of bonus prize.
Right, lads, we just brought in Ronaldo, but don't worry, 100 million, don't worry about it, just enjoy it. And if you lose 2-0 in Madrid to Atleti, then it's not a problem. I don't know, he's got a fractious relationship at the moment with, I think, internally at Juventus, but also with the fans and the media. But I honestly can see, I could see this being an explosive game tomorrow. I know.
Do you know Atletico Madrid are playing in it?
I know, but when they turn it on Juventus, and I know they've not been at the best recently, they're an explosive side. I just got a feeling that we're going to have a special night in Turin. And it's not going to be a dull and boring game.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
Don't blame me if it is.
0-0, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a minute.
Get that money on now.
Have you been on the Peronis before the show? It's usually a post-show.
Why is Allegri playing down the Champions League?
And it's almost a concession. He said, well, all good things come to an end, but we're winning the title and this and that and the other. Look, I don't see how this is motivational. I don't see how this gets anybody going. I'm not sure what exactly he's getting to. I think the larger point is the fact that maybe he feels that his job at Juventus has been underappreciated because of the weight and the focus on Champions League rather than day-to-day success of this club. But the problem is that, as Craig alluded to, if you bring Cristiano Ronaldo not to win the 8th Scudetto in a row.
Sure.
You bring Cristiano Ronaldo because of the possibility and the idea that this is the piece that you were missing from getting over the top in Champions League. They've been there. They've been close. It's been a matter of things going their way here and there. They've had those opportunities. And because you've been so close, then people expect that you're going to get back to that point.
Of course.
And if you are an elite club around the world, this is what people are going to want and need from you. So if Allegri is over this relationship, then, hey, there's one person that can resolve this and say, you know what, guys, I'm done. See you guys later.
And that's him. As you mentioned, 100 million on Ronaldo in the summer, very much with the eye on the Champions League, but he hasn't really brought it so far. Stats, lovely, but it wasn't quite emphasising the point that I was making. Take a look at the bug there. 1 goal in the Champions League so far this season. Domestically, he's been brilliant, Ian. However, when it comes to Europe, Cristiano not delivered the sort of performances that Juventus would have expected bringing him last summer.
Yeah, yet, remember his record in the knockout rounds with Real Madrid. He was scoring just about every game in the last 2 seasons. And I agree with Craig. I don't think Juventus are done with yet in this tie. I think this is all a smokescreen from Allegri. He's just trying to calm things down. They'll be pumped up. They'll be eyeballs out trying to rescue that tie. No question about it. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if Cristiano Ronaldo really starts to turn it on now in Europe when it matters most.
So, Ian, you're going
Take
for...
that, Daniel.
What was that?
Yet, Ian said, yet. He always delivers in the latter stages of this competition.
Well, we'll have this conversation.
Just because he's left Real Madrid, you're not binning him.
We'll have a conversation about this tomorrow. So, Ian, who have you got to go through?
Having said that, I think Atletico Madrid are the last... They're the last team you want to play, aren't they? Trying to rescue a 2-goal win. Diego Simeone is a mean machine, so I think it's going to be a great game. There's my prediction.
There you are.
Great
Take
game.
that, Craig.
Well, good defence area. I'm sticking my neck out. I'm going to say a great night in Turin, a memorable night, and Juventus to go through.
How?
By winning.
No, because, like, obviously 2-0, extra time, there'll be penalties.
Yeah, well, I'm not...
3-1, not good enough.
You know, I've got a crystal ball. I don't know how it's going to happen. Ronaldo to have a special night. I think...
If Atleti score 1, Juve need 4.
I know how this competition
I know,
works.
I'm just emphasising.
As I said earlier, when I was doing a piece earlier, if Man United can go to PSG with a completely depleted squad and win 3-1 in a night, it's not inconceivable at home. Yeah, but... Do you think it's just over?
I think it's over. Well,
shut up. You're so negative.
What's that negative?
Every time there's a big game, you go, oh, it's going to be horrible. Atleti are involved.
When's the last time Atleti have been in a good match that's entertained you?
Well, you better tune in tomorrow then.
I will be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Are we saying Juventus are not good enough to beat Atletico Madrid 2-0?
Well, we're going to find out.
Oh, is that what we're saying?
That's a good point. And then we'll find out. But it's not going to be a barnstorming 5-3 thriller.
They are good enough. However, you just mentioned PSG. There's a big difference between PSG and Atletico Madrid, and there's a strength of character.
There's a big difference between Juventus and Man United.
Well, that too.
So,
hey, I like your arguments. You almost convinced me. However, Atletico Madrid defending...
Pick Juventus.
No chance.
Ready for a
I'm not sticking my neck
tie.
out and keeping my neck right in here.
Meanwhile, of course, the other game is in Manchester. Wow. Wow! Manchester City are 200-1 on to advance to the quarter-finals. Remember, they take a 3-2 lead going into that second leg. It was the incident that has now been seen around the world, of course, in that Birmingham City-Aston Villa match. The fan coming on and punching Jack Grealish. Well, today he was in court. He pleaded guilty to all charges and has been sentenced to 14 weeks in jail. Ian, I want to start with you. In the UK, obviously, this has all happened very quickly, but there is still possibility for Birmingham City as a club to be punished. Do you feel that the sufficient punishment was given out to the fan, and should indeed the club face charges as well?
Well, the fan's been given 10 more years of a ban by the club, and I think Birmingham City are bound to be punished in some shape or form. But this is a very worrying development. It wasn't only in this game. There was somebody coming on the pitch in the Arsenal-Manchester United game to attack Chris Smalling. It happened in a game in Scotland as well between Hibernian and Rangers a couple of days before. So you do wonder, don't you? Think back to Monica Seles, the great tennis player, being attacked by somebody with a knife. How did anybody know that this guy coming on the pitch didn't have a knife or a brick or something in his hands? This could get a lot worse, and football has to do something about it.
Ian brings that up. It's something that you've cited before on the show. You know, if this person had had a knife, it could have been
I don't know what you do about it, because you can't steward the whole ground. It's just not possible to have a steward every yard around the ground to stop people coming on. We can't go back to putting fences up like some clubs, like my old club Chelsea, put a big huge fence up in the 80s. Ken Bates. We can't go back to that period. But unfortunately, I think it's a kind of sense of society at the moment where we are. You've only got to look in social media and see some of the vitriol that goes around over the most innocuous stuff, and that seems to carry on to the stadiums these days as well, where fans, some of them, unfortunately spoiling it for the vast majority, I think they have carte blanche just to go and do what they want. So I don't know how you stop this just by self-policing it amongst the actual decent people themselves.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one.
Ian, obviously you travel the country going to different grounds. Craig brings up social media there, and it's been cited, hasn't it, the fact that almost because these idiots now have a voice, it's almost normalising their opinion and in some way their actions as well. Is it that it's getting worse, or are we just picking it up more?
No, I think it is getting worse. Craig's right. I think the fans now do have a voice on social media, and often it's a toxic voice as well. They feel emboldened, and maybe it's only a small step from being a keyboard warrior to thinking, when you've had a few drinks, that, hey, I'll go on the pitch and I'll attack their best player. And you know what the worst thing about it was? quite a lot of the Birmingham fans actually applauded that moron for doing what he did.
Yeah, it's difficult to fathom that these people go to a game and this is their incentive. This is what they want to do.
Well, and that's a concerning part, because it's easy to say, well, it's just the one idiot. It's just the one guy that jumps in and does what he does. But the fact that the reaction from the other fans in and around him is to serenade him and to celebrate it, that's concerning, because then it's not just one idiot. Yeah. There's just plenty of idiots out there. And so are we getting to the point where the idiots are outnumbering the rest of the people? And if that's the case, that's scary. That's a scary thought. Now, as bothered as I am with the idiot, as concerned as I am with the other idiots around him that are serenading him, I'm just as upset with the security in the stadium. The fact that we cannot guarantee the safety and well-being of the players in what should be their sanctuary. That's where they should be untouchable. You allow the players to provide you with a show out on the stage. That's their stage. If they cannot feel safe to be able to perform what they're paid to do, then there's a problem. Then we can't play the games. Without the safety of the players and that guarantee, we cannot play the game.
I'm not blaming social media for this at all, because it's much deeper than that. But actually, the tribalism is getting worse. Yeah. I mean, the English journalist about a year ago, Rich Jolly, wrote a very good piece saying the conspiracy theorists out there, particularly on social media, are driving these morons nuts. They're fueling them. Yeah. They're pouring petrol on the fire of the conspiracy theories, and it's making some of these people just absolutely freak out and become demented and crazy and just make poor decisions. And hopefully the jail sentence will deter any other idiot from coming on the pitch. But I dare say it won't.
But you got to jump ahead of the curve real quick. You got to jump ahead of the curve. You can't just wait until something worse happens in order to take action. You can't have a guy being stabbed on the field in order for you to make a decision. You got to jump ahead of it so that these things don't happen.
Just a reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download our daily podcast, which is available on the website. You get the audio version of the programme. Plus, there's quite a bit of bonus bits and pieces there as well. You look at the odds as to who will win the title in the Premier League. Manchester City remain favourites, 11-4 on 1 point clear of Liverpool, 9-4. Both, of course, with victories at the weekend. Ian, are we persuading you at all at the moment to change your Liverpool pick from the start of the season?
No, Liverpool have their best ever points tally at this stage. They're making a heck of a fight of it. I think it'll come down to how much of a distraction will be the Champions League for both of the clubs, and a key game, Manchester United against Manchester City.
Both of those clubs in Champions League action on Wednesday. Meanwhile, gentlemen, to end, talking top four after what we saw yesterday, Arsenal being United. Who have you got to join City and Liverpool in the Champions League next season?
I've still got Man United at the moment.
Right, and Spurs?
Yes, just.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, looking at Chelsea at the weekend, they were awful again.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I think Arsenal, he's done a very good job there, but I think they'll just falter. I think.
Should I pick Spurs?
I don't know, Ali. You and Spurs have got this weird relationship at the moment.
You know what? I'm going to go with Spurs.
Yeah.
And Manchester United.
No love for Arsenal. They just beat United 2-0.
I'm picking Spurs.
All right then, guys.
Spurs fans, I'm picking Spurs.
Thank you very much. Much more from us tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.